The greatest podcast in the world. The greatest podcast in the world. Look at the boy bands.
Friday nights.
Rules that were available. Rules that were available.
Friday nights.
Rules.
Look at the boy bands.
Rules that were available.
Portly Gentlemen's Podcast.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're coming at you from the cockpit of a Boeing 747, flying high on the airwaves. The conspiracy that started it all, from the temperature of jet fuel and Trent's missing black box to the sticky, icky business of the heroin trade in Afghanistan. That's right, tonight, and still the undefeated OG red pill of the internet, the 9/11 conspiracy. So unsheath your box cutters and let's storm the cabin as we get ready for the next installment of the Portly Gentlemen's Podcast.
Well, there were men that couldn't fly real good, flew quite bad intact. They ran into a couple of buildings. We're talking about that. We're talking about that. About running planes into buildings once again. Portly Gentleman, once again, once again, once again. It's the Portly Gentleman, once again.
Nicely done,
Nice,
boy.
Miggy.
Nicely done.
Hell yeah.
I like how Biggie said they didn't know how to fly a plane. I'm pretty sure they did a
Yeah,
lot
they're
of the
quite accurate with their.
Come to think
They're
of it,
flying.
Probably some of the most efficient pilots in the history.
Yeah, all right. So 9/11,
Yeah.
20th anniversry is what, tomorrow? Or probably the next day, I guess.
tomorrow. My
Tomorrow
friend.
for us, yeah.
Well, I mean, like,
No,
for us,
it's
it
today
was
in
the 12th.
America. It was yesterday for us. Today's the 10th. It's tomorrow. It's the 11th.
Yeah. So.
Hey, I was wrong.
I was like, what the fuck? Hey, whoa! I hope we got that recorded. Danny saying that. Oh man.
Hey, it's not my fault. Americans do their dates stupid. They're after us. It's not my fault.
Oh, well, after
Who the fuck puts the month in front of the day? Like, what the fuck is wrong with their country?
Yeah.
Someone who really
America.
enjoys 420.
Let's
Like,
measure people with
yeah.
stones. They didn't do that until they fucking stoned other people, dude.
But also, it would have been November then, Paine. You know what I mean? If you thought that.
Wait, is it not November?
Yeah.
Oh man,
You know-
I'm
you-
serious
you know what the-
about dragging.
You know what the annoying part about that is like that's actually kind of how I was thinking about the date. I'm like, it's not the 9, like it's the 9. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
it was 2 days ago or whatever. Like it was, or whatever, yesterday. Yesterday was the anniversary of
9th of
9/11.
November.
I totally thought it was November thanks to Trent.
9th of November is when September 11 happened.
Yeah. That's right. Fuck, that's funny.
Yeah,
Who's leading this one off? Who's got the truth?
I think before we kind of get started, maybe we should just like kind of go through. Like,
Well,
have we got
out of
you got some
interest.
footage of it, Treno, at all? We can maybe like watch a quick clip.
Yeah, like let's
of
go
the,
through
let's-
like the actual event or whatever. You know, like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
actually happened.
Yeah.
I wish you didn't put me on the spot.
Well, I feel like
Come on,
you
Trent,
had like
dropping the
two
ball,
whole
geez.
weeks to fucking figure this shit out, bro.
2 whole weeks, you reckon?
Pressure's on, Trent. The pressure's on.
I just want to be
okay.
the guy at the background doing all the controls. He says.
I mean,
Oh,
so like, let's have a look. More.
This is
Look,
the
there you go.
dude. There we go.
There's some buildings.
Let's-
And that's
let's
the
find some-
motherfucker who did it.
hold on, can you just play something like all the way through, or are you just gonna like skip?
I mean, yes. Was that good? There you go. Was that good for you?
Fuck that shit, eh?
Oh, dude, when you look into it, and watch some of the fucking footage. It's like so out of control and fucking like it's real like oh, I don't know,
I have
this
a good
feels like-
question. Let's start it off with where everyone was when they fucking watched this, because I remember
that's a
me
good-
personally.
Yeah,
Cheese
I
TV,
I think
Yeah,
I got
fuck
home
yeah,
from-
man. Cheese
waiting
TV.
for my Dragon Ball Z to come on,
Actually,
and then this
yeah.
shit
Dude,
happened.
your memory sounds exactly like mine.
Also like mine.
Yeah, I'm being like, what the fuck? Why isn't Dragon Ball Z on?
I remember
Yeah.
shouting out to mum like, "Are you seeing this?" And then this watching that second plane hit, like, "Oh fuck, this shit's real."
Yeah, I
so-
remember it now. 'Cause we got out of school that day thanks to that.
Yeah.
Oh, really? We still had to go to
Is that
school.
right?
No, we got out of school.
Sure, I went to
Australia,
school that day.
And mum was
Never
like,
went
"Yeah,
to school
you're not
that
going
day.
to school today." I'm like, "Yeah, I can live with that."
Wait, Biggie, we can't hear you, bro.
Oh, it was
Glad
just you guys. Is that what?
Yeah.
Was it, you mean it was just you guys, Seth? It wasn't
Yeah.
like the whole
We
school or
definitely went to
anything.
s- I
Yeah,
definitely
I
went to
was
school
like,
that day.
yeah. I
No,
don't
mum
get
actually
that,
was just like,
Wait, everyone's
yeah,
talking over the top of each other.
with this shit happening, not a chance. Like, go to school directly across from like this massive logistics base and everything like that. This stuff just
Yeah.
happened.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Like- Maybe not go to school today and just see what happens.
Did she send you to school the next day after that though? Because
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, if they were
Everything
gonna
was
do it,
calm.
it
Holy
would be
shit, that's
24
brutal,
hours.
man.
Wonder.
That's fucking out of control, eh?
Holy shit, that's crazy.
So one of the things with that too, there's one of the conspiracy theories that,
Hold on. I feel like before we get into conspiracies, let's like actually go through what everybody's experience was on the day, right?
well, I missed Dragon Ball Z. I was upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seth got to stay home. Calan was
Yeah.
annoyed about Dragon Ball Z.
Done.
I mean, I can't really
I,
recall.
I was
can't
living
really-
Calan's exact life. Like, legitimately.
I was listening to Triple.
Calan
J.
actually was Trent at the
Wait,
time.
wait. Let Biggie speak. He's super
Oh,
quiet.
fucking hell, CK.
He's been trying to say something for fucking ages.
I remember like listening to it on the radio on the day that it happened, and like it came on the news, and I was like, "What the fuck? Where the fuck is the World Trade Center?" And I went inside, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, apparently some terrorists flew a plane into the World Trade Center." And he was like, "What?" And hadn't watched or heard anything on the news. Like turned it on, and just as like they were replaying footage from it,
Mm.
and he was like, well, that's Americans." And it's just like on the back.
That's
he's like-
Americans.
He's like,
Oh,
"Nah,
fuck.
that's America. We're fine."
Classic Yanks. Am I right?
Yeah, that's what'll happen to you if you're a bloody American. Like,
Oh, fuck. So brutal.
I'm pretty sure like he like was just like, yeah, well, I don't think it was more like they deserved it. It was like, it's in America. Like what? What's going to affect us? Like, did not at all
Mm.
like see the.
Or he
repercussions of
he
what
could have
happened
even
that
just been
day.
saying it to like
Try and
not
make
show
you
how
not feel as
freaked out
bad.
he was.
Oh,
man.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, don't worry about that. It's on the other side of the planet. Like, that's
Yeah,
good.
never mind. It's nothing.
Meanwhile, he's packing his survival kit.
Oh, bro, if I know Dad, he would have been shitting himself. Like, oh, life break ballot. Oh, fuck.
What about you? What about
Yeah.
you, Patey?
So I just remember my old man wake me up that morning and like didn't tell me what was happening, but he was like, "Oi, you need to see this because you're gonna remember this like I remember the moon landing in '69." You know what I mean? He's like, "This is one of those like seminal moments that you're gonna remember forever."
Yeah, man,
So I just
definitely.
remember just like stumbling out of bed. We were what, grade 8? So I was maybe 13. Yeah, I would have been 13. I was just like, what the fuck? And then just seeing the plane smash into the second tower in that moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was
I
that.
remember just
It was that second fucking plane, man, that like blew us away. Because you'd seen the first one just up in smoke. You're like, what the fuck? And they're talking about the plane hitting and all that. But next thing, that second plane came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
the thing that got me though, man, was like the building's on fire and you could see people were like, fuck it, I'm just gonna jump out of the window rather than burn to death. And like seeing that as a 13-year-old, like seeing people like, nah, I'm just gonna jump out of what, 60 floors up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like,
That was like,
Was that-
like, holy fuck, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
yeah. So my experience was when my sister was the one that knocked on my door. She was like fucking 8 years old or something at that time, and was like, "Oh, there's people jumping out of a building on TV." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" She's like, "No, there is." I'm like, "Go away! Like, get it out of here! No way!" She's like, "No, Cameron,
Fucking sisters. Am
it's
I right?
real." And I went
Jeez.
out, and then I was
Always
like,
exaggerating shit.
yeah, I know, right? And I was like just in time to see like that second plane hit.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
second plane hitting made it real. Like,
Yeah.
for all of us, like, holy fuck.
Yeah, it's like one
Sure,
could be an
mate.
accident.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Two-
when you listen to the footage over there, that's what a lot of people are saying. Like, when they're recording it, like, oh, what even was that? Like, what happened, sort of thing.
Yeah, like nobody knew what the fuck was going on, and it wasn't until that
Mm.
second plane hit that everybody was like, "Oh, people are flying planes into buildings."
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man.
Bro, this fucking mental there.
I mean,
it's so crazy.
it's obviously not crazy enough to make those buildings fall on their own, though, right?
Hell no, dog.
Lay down the truth.
I mean, it was crazy, but that shit was next level.
You know what the thing that
That's
gets
what
me
else.
with this whole thing too? If they were fucking really smart about it, right? And like, I mean, that clearly sends a fucking message. But like, I think it was a couple of Ks from that. There's a fucking massive nuclear plant that they could have fucking hit, and that would have just fucked that whole area up.
Oh,
Or a
dude, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, but so I agree, right? But I feel like, as with like all terrorism, it's not about necessarily like causing the most amount of damage in terms of like actual damage. It's more about like a psychological, like it's like a proving like, look, we can fuck with your whatever, like your idols the most.
Well, wasn't it like Osama bin Laden tried to blow it up beforehand? Like, wasn't there a car bomb or something?
Yeah, Osama bin Laden for
93.
sure. Like was the
93,
one that
yeah.
was trying to
Well,
do that.
like they said that he tried to blow the fucker up in 93 with a car bomb underneath the tunnel, which failed.
Yeah,
This was-
like I don't even think he took credit for even
I don't
this
think
one,
he
right?
took credit for it.
He said he didn't do it.
No,
I'm
he
pretty sure.
specifically said a bunch of times that he had nothing to do with it, but he was happy that it happened.
Who's
Yeah.
this?
Osama.
Osama bin Laden, yeah. So
Yeah,
essentially, like
Obama.
he denied being involved in it at the start of it all, and then
Yeah.
eventually he took credit for it.
No, so even I don't think look from
Yeah, it
my
was a fake video.
from my understanding anyway, he never actually took credit for it. But there was one video where he said that he was happy that it happened, and that's the one.
That
where-
was Donald Trump, man.
that was Donald Trump. He's like, "Yeah, I'm happy that they fucking destroyed
Well,
those
he's
buildings."
saying like when it
What,
actually
man?
I'm
happened,
Osama
he
bin
said-
Laden. I'm
They've
happy
done
this
real
happened.
fucked up,
Why are
like,
we talking
oh,
about
now,
Trump right
now
now?
my building's now the biggest.
Oh,
Trump Tower, yeah.
The Empire State, me.
But yeah. Oh, I always thought that he did own up to it eventually, but yeah.
No, I don't think so,
it
man.
was real just soft.
There was one video where they had him talking like positively about it and saying, I'm pretty sure, like, I could be fucking wrong, but the way they had him basically talking about it and saying like, that
Let's
he was
assume
happy
you're
that he had
wrong.
it. Yeah, like sweet, let's do that. No, but I think that like that's actually like a really interesting point though, is that like, because what if you're a terrorist, why would you not, like, you're just trying to strike fear into people's hearts, right? Like that's what you're doing.
That is
Well-
the definition of terrorism,
in
man.
that area as
Yeah.
well.
Why would you not then admit that it was you? You're just like, oh, I suppose maybe it's more terrifying if they can't pin it down. So maybe that was his thing.
But was he like actually
The repercussions.
actively trying to be a terrorist? You know what I mean? Or was he just like
A goat herder, just like, oh, look at my goats.
No, like obviously, I'm pretty sure he was like super wealthy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
he's
was.
this, yeah,
Sort of.
for sure.
Yeah, so like, yeah, wasn't he connected with the CIA before all of this even
Yeah,
happened?
so the war in Afghanistan versus Russia.
I
Yeah.
heard there was
Yeah, pretty
something
much
where
responsible for arming the Taliban.
the Bush family was actually friends with members of the Bin Laden family.
Yeah, well,
At one
Hmm.
point, yeah.
Bobby, we can barely hear you, man. Eh?
the day before.
Like,
The day before. Is that real
Yeah.
loud now? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
like the
fine.
day before, old mate George Bush Sr. had a conversation with like Bin Laden's brother or brother-in-law. And apparently like no one knows the transcript of the conversation, but it ended poorly.
Mm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then like so there's definitely connections there between the Bin Ladens.
In that
and
same
the-
regard, though, I had heard that Bin Laden was basically the black sheep of his family. Like, even though the Bush family was friends with his family, he'd kind of been ostracized. Like, I don't want to say excommunicated, but like, yeah, he wasn't really in contact with the family.
Yeah, okay.
But in saying all that, like, man, like, it could have just been a renegade faction. You know, like, there's more than one fucking person or country that does not like America.
Mm.
Well known fact.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude.
So it could have been a renegade fucking
like
faction.
Canadians.
So, like, let's just do it. Yeah, the Canadians, for instance. Maybe
Almost certainly those fucking Canadians. Yeah, they're so
Canadians.
sneaky, eh? They're slippery.
come in on their moose back.
Yeah.
Fucking
That's how they just snuck it in by a moose.
just take sharpened hockey sticks onto airplanes.
Yeah, that's how they hijacked. They like took their like boots off and fucking like.
Yeah, good luck beating them. in a
Damn
fight.
Canadians.
Right, so do we
I'm
want
gonna steal this plane, eh?
do we want to try and do we want to try and like go through the actual like events of the day just roughly anyway?
Yeah, I think we should try and just do that real quick. Like, whoever's got like the quickest, briefest overview, because we
Yeah,
know
so
what basically happened. But
does anybody like even have like Wikipedia open so we can just go through like fucking
there's a lot of fluff in Wiki.
but like the actual events of fucking the day? Because I know
Like the
for
times and all that.
yeah, so like I know for sure.
Because like, what were the people that hijacked it? What was their nationality? They
Saudi.
weren't all Afghanistan. They were
No,
all
they-
Saudi.
Most of them weren't
none of
Afghanis,
them-
man.
None of them
were.
They were all
Yeah,
Saudi.
Most of them were Saudi
Arabian.
All
Arabians.
Saudi Arabians.
So
Had
do you want a
nothing to
quick
do with
run through?
Afghanistan.
Yeah, let's
Righto.
go run through.
So
So,
where was the connection there?
There's none. Let's go. Let's go through the day though.
righto. So, on the morning, 4 commercial airliners traveling from northeastern United States to California were hijacked by 19 Al Qaeda terrorists. The hijackers were organized into 3 groups of 5 and 1 group of 4. Each group having one hijacker who had received flight training and took over control of the aircraft. How thorough do you want me to be? Like, there's like fucking 6 paragraphs of words here.
Just basic, man. Like you can just skip through.
Can you
Say
speak
every
it?
third word.
Wait, no, but
The
let it.
Skim it.
The first plane that was American Airlines Flight 11 hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center about 8:45. 15 minutes later, United Airlines Flight 175 hit the South Tower at 9:03. A third flight, American Airlines Flight 77, was hijacked over Ohio at 9:37. It crashed into the western side of the Pentagon.
Fourth flight.
I can't. Oh, the fourth and final flight. Yeah, Flight 93 was flown in the direction of Washington, D.C. The flight was the only plane not to hit its intended target, instead crashing in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:03.
That's the one that they got the black box from. The only one that actually survived.
Hmm.
And that's where they believe
Was it
the,
Trent's
pilot-
black box?
We could have been.
That's the black box we're talking about.
The United States
one that was
responded by
partially
launching the
smashed.
war on terror, invading Afghanistan to dispose of the Taliban.
Which Al Qaeda and Taliban are two totally different things, but
Yeah.
okay.
Although bin Laden initially denied any involvement in 2004, he formally claimed responsibility for the attacks.
When?
Oh, in 2004, sorry, he claimed responsibility for the attacks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 3 years later, and there was like a bunch of,
After he was
I
dead.
guess, conspiracies around like that video.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So in the
legitimacy
attack,
of it.
there were 2,977 fatalities, 25,000 people injured, and in addition to at least $10 billion in infrastructure and property damage.
Property damage. Ah!
Apparently, 340 of those injuries
That's
and
a bit of a
72 of the deaths were firefighters and law enforcement officers.
Dude, how many did you say were injured? Wasn't it some
25,000.
Oh, 25,000.
But
I missed the 1,000 part of that. I'm like, how is there only 25 people injured? Like, what the fuck?
What I wonder about with that is that like how much of that was on the day, and then how much of that has been as a result of.
Well, I reckon it's from that dust, man. All the
that's right.
Dude,
Yeah.
that dust sounds
that
like the
shit
pits.
shattered glass, and it was
Yeah.
it was a massive heat wave as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
That
dude.
emitted frame.
you
Yeah.
imagine so.
Yeah, dude. Those laser sky weapons fucking really fuck shit up.
Those energy weapons, yeah. Yeah, dude.
So can we talk about like maybe the real culprits then with the energy weapons, and that's the Empire? Because I've seen shit like this before. This wouldn't be the first time.
I've seen a documentary about it, actually, I'm sure.
Imagine having asthma with that dust storm.
Yeah, that would be
Imagine-
real shit. That's not what you want.
Imagine sitting like in an office building just up from there and you're about to have a cigarette and you're like inhaling and it's just this giant dust cloud just like past you as you and you've just sucked in like, oh yeah, that's fucked. Like a whole mouthful of this shit. As deep into your lungs as you
I
possibly
think
can.
that's the least of your worries.
What about the one?
Imagine just chilling out, going about your normal work day, and then suddenly the building that you're in is on fire, and there's like massive explosions and shit.
Yeah.
Or there's actually just look outside your window and there's a plane beelining straight at you. And like,
Oh man, I chose
I've got to really finish this report, please.
Imagine like making
Try
the
not to
decision.
talk over each other. Try not to talk over each other.
It
Yeah,
does get to raise
imagine-
the question, though, right? How much of it was asbestos and all that dust full of asbestos? What kind of long-term damage did it do to the people who did get involved in that dust storm?
Oh, dude, even if it wasn't asbestos, like even just
cement dust.
Even just the silica from cement dust is enough to fucking destroy your lungs, man. Like there's fucking people die all the time from that. Like there's lawsuits that are happening right now about like from tilers that are cutting fucking tiles and the dust that they inhale.
Yeah, like I think those people are getting like huge amounts of cancer or whatever already, right?
Yeah. And
like a lot of them have died already from cancers and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately there's like a bunch of like I don't know if this is the same in Australia as it is in America with the way that our insurance system works. But unfortunately, I think that a lot of the people that have been like affected by it in the US haven't actually been like it's like not covered by their insurance or whatever.
Well, really?
Yeah.
Seems pretty rough to like not cover anything associated with that.
Yeah, so because it's like an act of God, essentially. Like it's like
what? Not really.
An act of Muhammad, at least.
There's some pretty random side effects from inhaling this dust. Apparently, like reflux, asthma, sleep apnea, cancer, PTSD, respiratory disease, chronic obtrusive pulmonary disease. Wow, fucking what a mouthful. Depression.
X-ray vision.
That's what she
anxiety.
said.
Yeah. The common cancers from breathing in the dust were skin cancer and prostate cancer.
Oh
Wow.
shit, dog.
Skin and prostate.
Yeah, so that must
That's
be
the worst. So you're ugly
They're
And
the two
your
worst
math doesn't work.
cancers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now that we've done like the kind of like intro into how, like what actually happened on the day, maybe let's start with like the actual fucking the first tower. Yeah. Has anybody got like, and did anybody do any research into fucking like the actual towers themselves?
I did, but I'm not telling you.
Yeah, no, not particularly to do with that. I mainly looked right into the like the securities and all that sort of stuff that they had purchased.
Come on, man. You're our structural steel dude. You totally should have been taken.
Yeah, I feel like you're the
arguing
only
about the
one that should
steel.
actually have any legit knowledge on this as a structural engineer.
Well, I mean, I can certainly tell you that Building 7 shouldn't have just collapsed that way from nothing. You know what I mean? Like the other one,
I feel like Chris might disagree with you on that.
What, Building 7?
Yeah, for sure. Chris, come on.
Was he?
I don't know. He's fucking muted, so who fucking knows if he's even there or not?
Yeah. Well, what's this muting business?
Could be jerking off furiously.
Well, no,
Probably is.
It's jerking Seth off.
They're doing a circle jerk over there.
Yeah, it's not,
Dutch
really,
rudder,
it's
man.
not really a circle jerk when there's two people, bro.
Oh no, there's a third person. He just hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah,
you know?
Jeremy's
quick enough.
back.
It's Jeremy.
Jeremy's
It's
back.
Run around each other.
They'll reach around. It's like a ghosty.
Yeah, sweet. So nobody has any info on the first two towers. Like any conspiracies about it, anything. Like we all think that it just happened the way that it happened.
Sorry, well, which ones do you want to talk about? There's like
Well,
fucking so many wild theories about this whole thing. You could talk about a good one would be to start with is like the fact that the government knew beforehand that this shit was going to go down, you know?
So I would love to talk about that, but specifically about like the first two towers, though. Is there anything that you have like about those towers other than like the jet fuel thing, which I think has been debunked?
The fact that it was engineered and the way it collapsed, like that thing was. I think there's multiple things. I could be completely wrong. It was either built to collapse the way it did. If it was to collapse and they were to demolish that building, it was supposed to collapse that way. The plane sort of thing initiated, but at the same time, those buildings are made for like to withstand a lot. You know
Well,
what I
they're
mean?
actually-
Like
yeah,
earthquakes,
And
They're
fucking
made to withstand an aircraft like
Earthquakes.
hitting them.
storms, high winds. Yeah, they were made to fucking
They are.
aircraft.
Earthquakes come
I'm
from the
pretty
ground.
sure they were small
Not the top.
airplanes. They weren't made for a Boeing to go
Yeah.
through.
Would
Yeah,
they?
I'm pretty sure they were erected in like the 1920s. So like the size of a plane.
The idea of a
Was
Boeing back then
Yeah.
would have been non-existent. So yeah, like when you've tested them against a biplane or a single prop plane, they
Yeah, I
probably
can
would have stood
imagine
up
that.
to it.
Wouldn't, like the Wright brothers, like send them in, boys.
Just slides down
We've
the
done
window. Like,
Airplane proof.
yeah, it's airplane.
Yeah, put it on the list. It's airplane.
Aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like for the way to collapse, so one of the good ones is the jet fuel, which I
Does
so
Paine
there's
think
a
it's
fair
legit or not?
few engineers and that would claim that jet fuel cannot melt steel beams and the columns that were in those towers. You know, to actually to melt that much of steel and to have it collapse on itself like that, because where you can see the planes hit, they hit relatively high on those buildings. But they do say like it was the weight of the floors collapsing on coming down that actually brought the whole thing down. So it was just essentially momentum fucking brought the whole thing down. But
Yeah, I'd heard
the jet fuel weakened the columns for it to structurally weaken it enough for it to collapse like that.
The
so-
crazy thing is, it was so
But
high
when
up
when they were cleaning up the mess and everything, you could see the beams on it and that, and some of the columns were cut. And just the way that the beams had melted, it looked like a thermite cut rather than.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
didn't old
Yeah,
mate
dude,
Ventura
yeah, I saw-
test that?
Sorry.
Old mate Jesse Ventura like tested that thermite theory, and apparently came up with an undesirable result. So like, although it like created heaps of flame and did mark the steel, it didn't cut it at all. So it kind of just burnt a ring around the outside of the steel, the thermite, when they used it. So
Well,
any-
no, thermite can cut steel, man. Thermite can definitely cut steel.
Yeah, but it can cut steel. But like when we're talking about like giant steel girders, like what percentage of thermite do you need to cut through?
The conspiracy is that they had people working on those columns for weeks before, and they were painting them, and they believe that that's where the thermite was added to it. So they've painted the columns with thermite. So when the planes have hit, the fuel has then ignited what the thermite's been placed on, and that's what's actually cut them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you look at the like
One sec with that.
if you look at the underground reports from the day, basically all of the news coverage, is like, oh my God, I can't believe these buildings are burning. And then everything calms down basically after that second plane hits. And then all of a sudden, people start being like, oh my God, there's a bunch of explosions happening.
Yeah.
And then after the explosions happen, that's when the building falls. So yeah, so obviously, like, there's other ways to look at it. Like, it's not necessarily like there was explosives planted, which is obviously how a lot of conspiracy theorists want to look at it.
Oh, whoa! I said 1 sec. I'll be back. You kept talking. You're supposed to be in silence.
Motherfucker.
Continue.
Now, is that okay? Is that all right now? Okay. So.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Biggie had to adjust his balls. I have to shut up again.
There you go.
Yeah. So, 2004 Osama bin Laden video on October 29, 2004.
Go on, Biggie.
Al Jazeera broadcasts excerpts from allegedly from a videotape of Osama bin Laden addressing the people of the United States. In this video, he accepts responsibility for the September 11th attacks and condemns the Bush government. Okay. I
can't find any links to the video unless.
Can we find the video? No video.
I've never actually seen that video though. I have seen it. It was huge when they first released it.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of things that I thought I remembered as well.
Goddamn time traveling motherfuckers.
Mandela effect, right?
I just remember that outfit,
Mandela effect.
Yeah.
I just remember that motherfucker's outfit.
I feel like if the media makes him out to be such a bad guy, and then they're like, oh, also he finally said that he did the attacks, then everyone's like, yeah, that's real.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
Let's not call him a saint.
Oh, nobody said he was a saint, cunt.
Ooh, he's a bad guy. You're either a saint
you're either a saint or you're a bad guy.
You have two options.
Is that how life works? What are you, Calan? What are you? Are you a saint or are you a Osama bin Laden?
I'll let you guys decide. You better pick fucking right though.
All right, so where were we?
The brains trust.
Where were we before? What were we just talking about?
Did you see that video or did I not share it?
No, it didn't show, bro.
Oh, dude, sorry. I was playing a fucking video for like 30 seconds just then.
I thought you were going to say video game.
Yeah.
Let's play a video game.
Here we go. We can see it now.
Flight simulator.
Flight
We calculated in advance the number of casualties from the enemy who would be killed based on the position of the tower. We calculated the floors that would have hit would be 3 or 4 floors. I was the most optimistic. That's the voice of the. That is the voice of a translator. I was the most optimistic of them all, inaudible, due to my experience in this field. I was thinking that the fire from the gas in the plane would melt the iron structure of the building and collapse the area where the plane had hit and all the floors above it only. This was what we had hoped for.
This is all that we had hoped for.
Allah be praised. The difference between the first and the second plane hitting the towers was 20 minutes, and the difference between the first plane and the plane that hit the Pentagon was 1 hour. They, the Americans, were terrified, thinking this was a coup. Yeah, sweet. Well, look, maybe if that was the real Osama bin Laden, I would believe that shit.
Well,
that wasn't the real
been
Osama.
lying.
Osama bin Laden. So good.
I got the real Osama just here. Do you guys want to see him? I'll bring him in.
Nah, it's so good.
Oh, dude, best idea for a bong.
Bro.
The Osama bin Laden bong, and you just smoke the bong through his turban.
I mean, Osama bin smoking.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm almost 100% sure that exists.
Oh, there's got to
somewhere.
be Osama bin Laden
dude.
bong. Trent, please pull that up. There's got to be an Osama bin Laden bong.
It got to exist.
Continue conversing while I find it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Look. At the end of the day, I'm definitely not saying that there wasn't that Osama bin Laden wasn't responsible for training these people or whatever, but they were all Saudi nationals. They weren't from Afghanistan. They weren't from Iraq. They weren't from
They
any
were
of the
from
countries.
Al Qaeda, though.
Yeah.
Well, they
I think
they
that-
joined Al Qaeda, or that's what they could be linked to.
Sorry,
Who trained
yeah.
them? Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there was
and that's
that,
where
There's a
the training-
plethora out there.
Oh,
Yeah, look at that bad boy.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I
Osama
want
Bong
that, man.
Laden.
Osama bin
Osama Bong Laden.
Like
yes.
there's like some here's a little green one.
And you do smoke through the turban.
Yeah. You
Of
did.
That's all I
course,
can
you
find.
smoke through the turban.
Is that go back?
sweet.
That was Stalin pulling a bong.
I hope so.
I
Man, I want
I
that.
don't think
for-
Stalin was alive when.
Oh,
Holy shit! I thought you were saying. I thought you were saying he was pulling a bong like from the Osama bong. I was like, hold on a second here. But that definitely was some kind of Stalin-like character pulling. a
We
bong.
should do a
That's
podcast on bongs.
Yeah, we should.
Just have Trent surfing for bongs.
In Mother
Russia.
Russia, bong smokes you.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some like B-list horror movie about like evil
Yeah,
bongs or something?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Evil Bonds
Cheech
is
Moran's in
definitely a
it.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
Cheech
Nick would have
Moran's
showed
in
me
it.
that for sure.
It's
Yeah, man.
it's a fucking horrible film. So
Anyway, back
terrible.
to
Oh,
9/11.
horrible. Jeez. Harsh.
What do you got, CK? I'm sure you got something tasty prepared.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, so, like, I think that like a bunch of the stuff we've been talking about is like fucking basically fucking interesting. It's like the idea that, like, the concept that, Osama. Like, it's so hard for me to not say Obama.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
literally every
100%.
single time I try and say it, I'm like, have to
Yeah.
remind myself that I'm saying Osama, not Obama.
Just
Why
let's
not
call him
both?
let's just call him Benny old boy.
Benny old boy.
Hey, Benny boy.
Oh, Benny
The
boy.
bin dog.
Oh, Ben dog. You been blowing anything up recently?
Yeah, so like, what do you
Turns out,
guys?
yes.
So what do you guys know about like the warnings beforehand?
I
I
know that
haven't
they
had-
did a bunch of evacuation tests on the building, like leading up to it, and they did like some Air Force tests basically, I don't know if it was on the day or the day before, like
I think it had been running for a
of the
few
exact
days.
situation, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
The
what
fact that it was one of the big ones too is like why the American Defense Force didn't scramble any jets to shoot these planes down too, because like you said, an hour later, and then the third plane hit the Pentagon,
Yeah, yeah, that's like a
and
long time.
the fact that fucking a plane could get that close to a Pentagon,
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
And they
Yeah.
couldn't get anything off the ground.
Yeah, so that's
There's no
flight-
service to land missiles in
and
that
they
area.
knew that the planes were hijacked as well.
Yeah.
They were well aware.
So they knew,
Actually,
they
have you
knew
seen
well.
their flight path?
Yeah, dude, it's fucking crazy, man, that those planes didn't get taken down. So the one that like I kind of did the most research on was the Flight 77, which was the Pentagon flight. But
That
even
was interesting, man.
yeah, but I mean, even just getting to that was the war games stuff. So like they'd been doing war games for a long time.
Ages, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, for a long time, like basically predicting that exact thing, like literally, like planes flying into the World Trade Centers. Amalgu here, Trent. I'll see if you can pull this up. AMALGU Virgo 01.
All one word.
So like Amalgu Virgo, AMALGU Virgo.
Yeah.
01.
Oh yeah, right.
That was like one of the war games that was happening at the time. And so basically like the question then becomes is like, so I don't really buy into a lot of the like jet fuel stuff. And so here we go. Amalgam Virgo, joint task counter-terrorist and field training exercise carried out in Chinadale Air Force Base, Florida. NORAD sponsored the multi-agency planning exercise involving the hypothetical scenario of cruise missiles or AUVs launched by a terrorist group. Osama bin Laden was pictured on the cover of the exercise book. Key military players were involved in the exercise. So this is like right as this is happening.
This is
Leading up to it. Yeah. This is months beforehand.
Yeah. So this stuff was going on right up to that time.
Yeah.
So this was going up to the day that this happened. Was these exercises were still happening? So like it's.
But that's half the reason that they couldn't scramble the jets, then, isn't it?
And this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying is like it's not necessarily that the conspiracy is that like the government was in on it or whatever. Like I feel like potentially the larger conspiracy was actually just that the government was so obsessed with like wargaming stuff like this that they actually couldn't even respond to an actual threat on the day. So for instance, here, I got it here. So for instance, in the lead up to it, in the previous years, fighter jets had been scrambled for errant planes, either planes with a transponder permanently off or off of course, with an average time, like intercept time of 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And they couldn't get them there in an hour.
Yeah. Well, no, but like that's an hour from the first, when the towers
The
were
first
first
plane
hit.
hit. They knew well beforehand.
So
Like,
it
I
would have been
think
hours.
the first
after.
plane, I had the timestamp before. It was like 20 minutes from the plane being hijacked to it smashing into the first building.
Yeah.
And it was like 20 minutes later, the second plane hit. And then an hour later, the third plane hit the Pentagon. And then
Yeah, so the first plane
20
hit at
minutes or something,
8:46.
the fourth
Second
plane
plane,
crashed.
9:03. Both towers collapsed within 2 hours. Third plane was 9:37, so 45 minutes later. And the last one was 10:03, so another half an hour later. So there's at least a 15-minute break in between every plane hitting the buildings.
Yeah,
Each
like
building.
after the first one, you'd expect that they'd contact every plane in the sky.
Sorry, boys, I've got a quick question. What the fuck are you doing, Biggie?
I'm typing something. I taped the light up here, bro.
Oh, it's a lot. Is that your phone?
Yeah.
It's got so much tape on it, man.
Yeah, dude.
It's like a whole roll of tape.
I didn't want it to fall down.
Does it make it?
Fair enough.
That will work.
It didn't work anyway. That fucking thing didn't turn out to like look. I put it
Also-
up there so that Bin Laden photo would look funny. Didn't work anyway. So
Also, your picture looks great, Biggie. Don't stress.
thanks, man.
That's okay.
You need to rotate your beer so I can see what you're drinking.
Why don't you guys fuck already?
I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking beer, dude. I'm drinking tequila and V.
What's in that
Tequila
bottle?
and
Is that
V.
tequila?
Tequila and V. Oh, what an
That was-
animal! He's just having a
That's-
full-on party.
Yeah, a rager.
Tequila
This
and
guy's
V.
going into town soon.
Wait, where's
heading off,
your
actually.
nice shoes? Have you waxed up your nice shoes, bro? Like,
I haven't even
fuck.
got nice shoes.
Hey, you know what is fucking delicious? It blew me away. Is port and V. I still want fucking boys to try that one.
Port and
It's
V.
really
Port.
Sounds terrible, man.
It
Yeah.
does
fucking.
sound
I
terrible.
thought the same, man, but it is fucking amazingly tasty.
Do you like V normally?
Yeah, I love
Oh,
V.
dude.
Yeah, port
V's
and V.
not
It
for
turns
me.
it into like a creamy.
Oh,
dude,
dude.
I don't know, man.
That sounds
That's horrible.
worse.
Fuck, dude,
Last
it is
time,
crazy
last time I
delicious.
drank port, I drank
So
like
bad.
2 liters of port in like 2 hours, and I just had a fucking terrible night, bro.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find that on YouTube somewhere. By the
Yeah.
way, listeners.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you
If you
could.
really want to do a deep dive, you
I
can
think it's
probably
gone,
find
actually.
Biggie Nick.
Biggie.
I think it's gone.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Don't
even
hang
that.
her in the bathtub.
I think it's Robbie's big night on the Terps or something like
Mm.
that. It was under.
I feel like
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's there anymore.
if you know that that's going out to the whole world, bro, I feel like probably it's not the best idea to be promoting that as like a video.
Ah,
But,
ah.
hey, look, it really happened to you, and you can probably claim sexual abuse. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
Sue the
could.
fuck out of those guys.
All right, so
They ain't got no money.
getting back into it though, yeah, like I think that was probably like one of the biggest things for me is like it doesn't have to be like the conspiracy for me doesn't have to be about like the jet fuel or you know that there was
Oh,
actually
there's so many.
a homemade attack or anything like that. Like the real conspiracy to me just seems like a conspiracy of the giant military industrial complex being totally faulty, that they can't even do their most basic of jobs because they're too busy spending fucking money.
Yeah.
Like that's the real conspiracy here is like if you actually wanted to catch these people, there was a lot of chances to stop these people from doing what they did. Like the FBI and the CIA knew about these people being in the US for the longest of times. They knew where they trained, they knew what risk they were. And then these people trained at military facilities.
Yeah.
And it's like, hold on a second. At what point do you go, no, I'm not sure about you. Like, let's not give these people training in
Any
how
more
to-
training?
Yeah, and how to fly planes into buildings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, how to do
Seems
anything
like a no-brainer.
militarized.
I mean, yeah, like an incompetence sort of situation is definitely,
Yeah.
I mean, probably the easiest of.
You know what's a real
I guess
interesting one?
Could the
conspiracies
whole
to
the
agree
whole
with.
organization really be that incompetent? Like the entirety, like just be like, oh, well, we didn't think it was a big issue if these people who have been monitoring came and trained with our military organizations. Like,
Well, I guess it comes down to like the structure of like power, you know, for the military.
yeah, but like
Like
if
no
the
one's going to
CIA or
scramble a
something,
jet unless someone tells them to. You know what I mean?
that's true.
Yeah, and I feel like a good example of that is even like what we got going on right here, right? Like if you look at like just our podcast, like we
So they're
barely
going to scramble jets.
we can barely
Yeah, bro.
we can
Mate, we don't
barely
even
not-
scramble eggs.
This is the perfect example. We can barely not talk over each other. You know what I
I
mean?
knew that was coming.
Yeah, like we can barely
You know
not talk over each other. And
there he goes
so,
again,
oh,
talking over me.
You were saying, go ahead, CK.
What was that? Yeah.
Oh, it's too
I'll
much.
stop, I promise. It just make it too easy, mate. Alright, you know what's a real interesting one? Is the
Yeah.
fact that they retrieved the terrorist passports and fucking
Dude,
Yeah, that's a weird one.
it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
from those fucking
Like-
wrecks.
like there's
Like-
certain parts of the story that are just so like outrightly unbelievable, and that's like my biggest one for me. It's like, well, like these buildings collapsed, and like thousands of people died. We couldn't identify some of them. We found these random 19 passports just amongst the wreckage here. It's like
Yeah.
real weird, eh? Like, and they're in perfect good nick too. Like,
and it was
Yeah,
good.
so-
and they found most of the passports.
Yeah.
I thought no, they only found one at
No, they found
They found a fair few of them, man.
they found one that was
What?
fully intact, and then they
Yeah.
found a bunch more that was like just like partial passports. But they ended
Oh,
up
really?
finding like most of the passports.
Yeah.
Huh. I
What
didn't
are
know that.
what do their passports look like? Are they different to ours? Like, would they have had US passports?
yeah,
you
well,
were
they'd been in the
passport.
US for a while, hadn't they?
Yeah.
You can look it up. They got pictures of it on the net of that one that's like fully intact. You know.
Yeah, the other ones were just like blown apart, but they still had the picture. Like all of them somehow still had the
The
picture.
most convenient
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
the passport
The
to
bit
have.
you actually
picture
want
of
the
It burnt the back page off, but like lucky the photo's still there. You know. Like, it's convenient.
Every other page in this, we don't know where you've been or where you've come from, but hey, your face and name with fucking almost typewriter-like handwriting here. Almost seems as if it's printed, but look, that's the neatest handwriting I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like that is just so unbelievable, man. You know.
Yeah, like particularly when it's a plane. So where did the one that was fully intact come from? Was that from the first? It was like the towers, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How the fuck? How
It was
the
like-
fuck, man?
So the report on it is like a man in a suit, like during all of the fucking carnage that's going on, a man in a suit approached the officer, it's from his perspective, and like handed him this passport, and then just went and left and disappeared. So that must be a burnt one, is it?
That's one of the burnt copies, yeah.
The good one is like it's totally good, man. It's like
Yeah, it looks like
it's
a
not
fully
singed
intact-
at all.
Yeah, it looks like a fully
Crazy.
intact passport.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so and I mean like that fella, like I couldn't find that they
Any
know
information about him?
Yeah, like and it's like during
crazy.
such a crazy like planes are hitting buildings. Are you looking around on the ground for fucking passports? And
Yeah.
then are you then finding that passport and being like, oh, better give that to this cop?
Could
you
have
know?
like you kind of crazy circumstances, you know. That thing could have just fallen and slapped him in the face, and you're like, oh fuck.
Maybe, dude, that would be even crazier.
Yeah,
As
as
they
they
bought
brought
the-
the as
would
they
be
brought the
crazy.
plane in,
Yeah.
they've just tilted it up a bit too far, and he's had it in his top pocket. It's like falling out of the windows. Oh shit, my passport! Like, never mind, you're not going to need it again,
Wait,
bro.
Biggie,
Good point.
when you fly, do you try and wind the window down?
Yeah, he does.
Pilots
I'm
can
pretty
open the
sure they
window. They're the
pressurise
pilots.
that.
It's a bit bloody stuffy in here, am I right? Like-
I wouldn't open that, mate. You'll lose your passport. Yeah, righto, whatever. Oh shit, my passport.
Well, I got another good one. What about the black boxes?
Yeah.
So they were able to recover they were able to recover all the black boxes, I believe, or 3 out of the 4.
Mm.
One was slightly damaged, and that was the one that crashed in the fields. They had to dig 15 meters or 15 feet down to retrieve it, but they retrieved that and they could listen to it.
Yeah.
And that's where they could ascertain their flight path and how they presume the passengers subdued the hijackers and
Yeah, well, they were on the phone at the time. Like, apparently passengers were on the phone,
which
to
is
loved
weird,
ones at
man,
the
because
time.
you can't get reception when you're 10,000 feet in the fucking air.
Yeah, that's right. And so,
Hold on.
apparently I'd heard
Hold on.
that being explained by their low altitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it did when it comes down and that, but there was weird phone calls that, like, even one was from a son calling the mum, and he talked to her, and he said his first and last name and all this when he was talking to her, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, mum, this is fucking Michael Nixon." And fucking,
Oh, Jesus.
Usually, a couple of mates thought it'd be funny to hijack a plane, but it's gone awry, and the guys have taken it back from us. Turns out they want to crash it into the ground in Pennsylvania or something.
It was quite interesting.
For fucking
This Bucks night didn't go the way we planned it, but hey, that's life, I guess.
It was quite interesting listening to the calls to the flight tower. Did you guys hear that?
yeah.
No, I didn't hear that.
One of the terrorists actually fucked up, and that's what actually started. They actually realized they were all hijacked.
What'd they say?
Yeah, well, they
no idea, but like he talked to the towers.
No, I think it was he'd left on, so he'd been talking to the towers, or they'd been talking to the
and
towers,
they'd left
and then he'd left that on while he told the plane what was going on.
No, so no, it wasn't that, right? It was that he thought that he was pressing the button for speaking to the cabin, or like speaking to like the people on the
that's
plane.
what I mean.
People, yeah.
And instead of speaking to the people on the plane, he was speaking to the tower. So he had no idea how to fucking fly a plane. Like he was literally just fucking pressing some random buttons on his radio.
Yeah.
And ended up so he was like, everybody be calm, it's okay, like we've hijacked this plane, and if you try to resist, like then you like, but he wasn't talking to the tower.
He was
very specifically, and that was on multiple planes. Like that was on all of the planes. Basically, they did the same thing. It was like they had no idea what the fuck they were doing. They were just pushing the button.
Yeah. Well, with the black boxes, man, they had 3 out of 2. Sorry, one partially recovered, but the other 2 were fucking damaged beyond repair. Like they couldn't ascertain anything from them.
Yeah,
and that's the fucking weirdest thing, is because those black boxes are made to be fucking indestructible.
100%, man. That's what they're made for.
And they never recovered the 4th one. They never found it.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy, dude. Like a passport survives, but a black box doesn't. That's a bit fucking strange.
Weird.
That to me was like one of the fucking weirdest bits about all of it, really.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Was the
100%.
black boxes?
Yeah, man, 100%. Oh, well, like there's a lot of fucking things that don't line up, but the black boxes was fucking super weird. That to me is like, that's covering, you know? The fact that they retrieved it and they're like, oh no, we couldn't get anything from it.
Yeah.
They had 2 damaged. And we couldn't find the 4th one.
we just gave up looking. It was like home time. Wasn't anything much on there anyway.
Like building collapsing on it, yeah, that might do something, but the one that hit the Pentagon and stuff, that's a different story. But they reckon that was 2 damage.
But they reckon the black box is an aluminium rust-resistant box wrapped with 1 inch of insulation that can withstand temperatures up to 2,030 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that conversion is.
It's like 180 Celsius or something, I think, right?
Yeah.
2,000 Fahrenheit.
Oh, 2,000.
It's about 40 degrees.
It can withstand
average Queensland summer, mate.
Yeah, it can withstand 3,400 Gs for 6.5 milliseconds, or the equivalent to a 310 mile an hour crash.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. I guess those
So
planes
it's
are
built
fine
for
in
it, right?
Yeah, it emits a signal for 30 days for depths with depths of up to 6,000 meters recorded. So
Yeah.
it's fair to say it's pretty fucking strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fucking crazy.
that definitely seems a bit sketchy. That all three, like, so 3 out of the 4, is that what we were saying?
Yeah. So one
Mm.
survived, the other 2 were fucking damaged, and the fourth one they just never found. And
Yeah.
it was like the one in the field was the one they were able to retrieve. The Pentagon one and one of the towers ones they retrieved, but they were damaged. And the fourth one they never found from the tower.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And then you did you have something else you want to say, CK? I did cut you off. Sorry, I was.
Like half an hour ago. No, that's okay, man. Like, I didn't actually like. I did. To be honest, man, I didn't actually do that much research on this because it's actually really hard to do research on this.
It is really
Yeah,
hard to do
it is
research.
hard.
And I never realized how much of Google and YouTube is censored until we started looking into this. To tell
Did
the
you guys
truth.
use a different search engine though?
Barely.
I did not.
On my phone, no.
Yeah. You can just go to like DuckDuckGo and then
Yeah.
you can just use that.
Oh, there it fucking is.
It's just a website, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost
Pretty
the cork
easy.
from my bottle. That could have been a travesty.
So yeah, it's like.
So another good one.
But censorship doesn't exist. So let's move on.
Actually, just finishing.
Yeah, so as the I guess
Motherfucker.
the word goes, you know, who really knows if this is true or not, but it's some information that I found, is that in 91, a bunch of fellas, including like, or headed by George W. Bush, like senior, got $240 billion worth of securities. And so they're like it's like a 10-year security, which is like a financial thing basically to hold a certain value, you know, that security holds $240 billion worth of value. And so when it becomes active again or whatever, I don't know how to, I'm not 100% sure of exactly how the securities sort of stuff works, but after it becomes active or whatever, after the 10-year period, they have to then look into like full ownership of like who actually owns the securities and where it's distributed, sort of like where the money has been distributed.
The funny
Did
money.
you say funny?
The funny money.
What is the
Where all
security?
that
Is
funny
it like
money
a
goes
some
is
type of
securities.
bond?
Sort of like a bond, man.
me.
It's like a yeah, that's right. And so so yeah, it was due, like those securities they bought back then were due on the 12th of September, right?
Ooh.
And yeah, so there was all these investigations underway at the time, already flagging these securities as to like being involved in money laundering for drugs, and also in connection to like terrorism and shit like that, I think. And so yeah, what do I got here? So like, yeah, one of the agencies that was investigating it was actually the Office of Naval Intelligence, who found a bunch of discrepancies, and they'd just been moved to that wing in the Pentagon that just got renovated for them, and then they got moved in there, which was conveniently, you know,
Exactly where the plane
spot
hit.
on the on the Pentagon that got hit.
Convenient.
'Cause I heard this one too, and it's really
And then
Yeah, so I'm
yeah,
doing
and
the
so
info on
then
this.
a bunch. What's that?
I was just saying, like, this is actually something that I looked into as well.
Yeah,
But
so
like not from that not from where you were looking at it, like from a different perspective. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So then on top of that, like all of the companies that managed those securities worked in the Twin Towers. Like they were the
All the
security
records
company.
and stuff worked
Yeah,
at
and so like
yeah.
41% of the people that died in the buildings, according to this source, were from those two like companies, like just from those two companies.
Yeah.
And then there was the whole thing about like, so Tower 6 was home to a like a task force called El Dorado Task Force, which was like a watchdog for money laundering, like a government watchdog, and which it got destroyed like before the other two towers even came down. It came down, you know, and so their offices and all that were totally destroyed.
Hold on. Can
And
you say that
this,
again? Can you say that again?
so that they were in Tower 6.
Tower 6. I don't even know if I've ever heard of Tower 6, man.
Yeah, it was like kind of between, it was sort of between the two. So it's sort of believable that, you know, it could have easily caught on fire with all the debris and all that sort of shit. But it collapsed.
But it collapsed as well?
Like a big portion of it collapsed, yeah, before the other two collapsed at all, sort of thing.
Before the main two
came down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. But according to this. And then so there was also like the vaults where they keep all the records for this stuff for this task force was like when they went there, well, when they were doing the cleanup and that, it was like just cleared out and the door was fully open. Like the fire didn't actually destroy that or anything. It had just been cleared out, sort of thing. And there's like photos of it, like some fella, some like photographer had gone in there and taken a bunch of photos at the time. But which, I mean, you know, this is literally just the story that I read, so it could have just been random photos of a vault. So, but yeah, then the big thing after that was that on the 14th, the Securities Exchange Commission declared a state of national emergency and eased all restrictions on clearing securities and trades for the next 15 days, like just for 15 days. And so then, yeah, which then allowed the $240 billion of securities to just be cleared, sort of thing, without the usual vigor and like security checks and whatnot and ownership, like that. Yeah. So
yeah, so there was definitely a lot of sketchy
Money.
shit. Yeah, there was definitely a lot of sketchy shit happening in terms of like financial stuff at the time.
Oh yeah.
So just before, like literally the day before the attacks happened, Donald Rumsfeld came out, and you guys know like this quote, and I'm sure actually you could probably even find it, Trent. Donald Rumsfeld, we cannot account for 2.3 trillion in military spending. So he comes out and says that there is basically like this massive black budget that is just disappearing the majority of our tax money into a hole that we can't account for, but legally we should be able to be accounted for. And the Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon in the exact area where those same account receipts
Within Kettle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it crashed into the Pentagon too, that whole side of that Pentagon was cleared out. There was no one in that area except those records or something like that.
No, there was
I
definitely
think it
people.
killed a bunch of.
They
yeah.
did kill a few people, but I think that's like
Yeah, because it was
from-
under construction at the time, and what's crazy, right, is it had been like approved for ages, and then they just about finished the so it was like a couple of days before they would have finished the renovation, and the renovation was to put hold on, I've got it somewhere here. So the renovation would have meant that they had like 3-inch thick blast-proof glass, literally designed to withstand a plane flying into it, and it was the only side, like out of the Pentagon, out of all the out of the other 5 sides, they could have crashed into any one of those other sides.
Yeah.
And it would have destroyed the entire building. But if they crashed into that one side, then it would have just been like what
that little bit.
Yeah. And that's what ended up happening. So
such a small amount of the Pentagon, that's destroyed.
Dude, it's tiny. And you look at the hole, like that's the crazy thing, right? Everybody says like, oh, like the size of the hole in the actual wall is like not big enough and whatever. And because they'd war gamed out, like you can see there's footage of them war gaming out where that the fuselage is inside the center of the Pentagon.
Because there's no footage of that plane hitting the Pentagon, is there?
No.
There's one clip, but you can't even see it, man. It's like too quick. And apparently they released statements saying like, oh, it was caught on 48 cameras. But like they didn't release any of the others, which
so they gave one. They gave one.
Yeah, they gave
camera
one
footage, and then now, even to this day, they've only released 4 others that actually showed where the plane would have hit, but they all didn't show it. So, very sus, because it's like one of the most highly restricted. Like obviously they have footage of it, Could you find that speech?
No, man. I could find one, but it's hard to.
Donald Rumsfeld.
Rumsfeld. I looked for that, and I looked for military budget. There isn't like a conference where he was the Secretary of Defense, but without listening to a 5-minute video, it's kind of hard to find anything specifically.
All right. Anyway, so
I can bring up something where he's talking shit. If that's what you're
about the military industrial complex, maybe.
Having a breakfast meeting with a group of 8 or 10 congressmen, I said to them, there'll be something that'll happen in the next.
Can you hear this, by the way?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We'll be concerned about and wish that we'd taken the steps to increase our defense budget. The senior military assistant came in and said a plane had hit the World Trade Center, which clearly was an accident. That doesn't just happen. I mean, it just was an accident.
That apparently does look like it is in the other building.
I went into my office, and then he came back and said a second plane had hit it. And at that point, it certainly was not an accident. It was an attack on our country. It was a nice sunny day, and suddenly all these events occurred in very close proximity.
There has been an explosion in the Pentagon.
When the plane hit the Pentagon a few minutes later, I think my immediate reaction was first to find out what in the world had happened. I knew it was a terrorist attack, and I knew the building shook, and I knew it had exploded badly, and that people were going to die. But I didn't know what it was, so my instinct was to go find out what had physically happened. Went down the hall, and outside, the field was filled with pieces of the airplane, and there were people coming out of a burning building, and smoke was billowing up, and people were on the lawn wounded. The first responders hadn't arrived yet. And then people started to come out and provide assistance to those that needed assistance. once people arrived, my instinct was to get back to the office and start thinking through what steps might be needed. If we've had 3 attacks, what might be the next one? Eventually, we launched some aircraft that were armed and were prepared to shoot down an airplane if they had to, which would have been a terrible thing to have to do. As you can imagine, an American airliner filled with innocent men, women, and children, but taken over by terrorists and ready to attack, for example, the White House or the Capitol. Thanks to that wonderful group of brave passengers in the aircraft that they brought down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, that plane very likely was headed towards the seat of political power, having already attacked the seat of military power and the seat of economic power in New York. It was a terrible day, and we made a decision, I made a decision to not evacuate the building and have non-essential personnel leave, but I was reluctant to leave the terrorists with the impression that they'd shut down the U.S. Department of Defense. It just didn't seem like a good idea to me. In the back of my mind, I just thought it was not a good picture for the world to see the Secretary of Defense leaving to some undisclosed site, and I felt it was important to be there.
Yeah, that probably wasn't what you were looking for, but that was actually quite interesting.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so basically the Rumsfeld video is him saying that there's $2.3 trillion that is missing from the budget, that is missing from that cannot be accounted for, and that warning basically that this is what happens if you let the military industrial complex run wild. This is the day before 9/11 happened. He announced that they were going to investigate it, and oh fuck, there's a plane flying over, a helicopter flying over me right now. We know.
Osama bin Laden, he's coming to get you.
Yeah, or maybe I'm Osama bin Laden, right?
Maybe it's like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees.
Yeah. So yeah, they basically announced, like, this guy was like, no, we're going to do an investigation into this missing money. And then as soon as he said that, then 9/11 happened. And then everybody forgot. Yeah, everybody forgot about that missing money and put an exponentially more massive amount into the entire project of national security, you know. And this is one of the things is like, and even right now during COVID, now no matter how you feel about COVID, like, you know, yay or nay in terms of how governments have done, that's not the point. But for sure, the same thing has happened. Like, whenever there's this giant emergency, then I feel like governments are for sure going to take advantage of that and trying to use that to get support for what they want to do, you know?
For their agenda.
Yeah.
Of course, they use everything for that means, man. You know what I mean?
The New
Like,
World
why would
Order,
they not
CK.
use-
They're taking over.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you heard the theory that it was actually a set up by the recent guy who'd recently taken over the Twin Towers and Building 7?
Yeah, well, like with the insurance. Yeah,
like he just massively inflated it. And even then, when he went to claim, he tried to claim both like 2 times because there was 2 separate planes.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, there are 2 separate buildings. Give him his money, whatever.
Yeah. Well, the one I was looking on was all the insider trading as well that happened leading up to all of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what Mick was talking about before. Yeah.
The Times reported on September 18 that investigations were underway into the unusual large numbers of shares in insurance companies and airlines sold off before the attack. People were fucking selling off their shares to United Airlines before it. And unusual, like usually they have like a certain percentage.
Yeah.
But this was like 1,200 times the amount that would usually happen leading into this.
Yeah.
And it should have made flags.
That's right.
It should have raised flags and all that in that aspect as well. This is coming down to the government knowing beforehand that this was going to happen. You know.
Yeah.
How many of these conspiracy theories do you actually believe? Is there one that stands out that you think, hey, this might actually be legit? Like this might be actually what happened.
Let's get everyone's opinion.
Well, what about before we do the opinions? Like, did you just look into the building 7 at all?
Oh, building 7. This is
it's like so crazy, man.
This is
tell us about building 7 then. Is that the one you're talking about 4 though?
No, that's building
6 he was
6.
talking about before. Building 7 is like the most iconic, like
we have to talk about
you can make all the excuses you want for everything else. Like, oh no, jet fuel actually does burn through steel beams, blah 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 blah. Yeah, but building 7.
Extensive building and fire safety investigation just completed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST.
World Trade Center 7 collapsed because of fires. We really have a new kind of progressive collapse that we have discovered here, which is a fire-induced progressive collapse. And in fact, we have shown for the first time that fire can induce a progressive collapse.
NIST used detailed data describing the building and its contents to create the most complex computer simulation of a structure collapse ever made. Falling debris from Tower 1 started fires on 10 floors in Building 7. A break in the city water main from the collapse of the towers disabled sprinklers in the lower half of W7,
come on, hold on, pause.
allowing fires on those floors to burn.
All right, we got to keep pausing this because, like, copyright.
I mean, we probably can't show this because someone else's YouTube video. Like,
no, it's actually like a case like fair use comes under fair use, but we do have to like stop it every like 10 seconds or something.
10 seconds, fuck man, we're not going to absorb any information in 10 seconds.
Yeah, which is why I think like but like we can just make like little bullshit comments, but also like the idea that they somehow it hit the water main and that's why it couldn't
the sprinklers
couldn't turn
That's
on.
what the whole problem was.
Oh yeah.
Goddamn sprinklers.
Yeah.
Like, the way that building fell was outrageous. Like
it imploded on itself and didn't get hit by a plane, bro. And there was like 3 small fires on 3 different levels, and then it just collapsed.
Yeah, I watched an interview with the owner of that building.
You mean like Scammy McInsurance?
Scammy McInsurance. That was his name.
Hi,
my name's Scammy.
Unfortunate
Scammy
name, to be happening during this.
And he was like giving his account of what happened, and he's like, we had fires in Building 7. And so I spoke to the fire brigade and was just like, pull your boys out of there. Like, we've had too much loss of life at the moment. Let's just pull it.
Look at that.
And then it just fucking fell down. Free fall. Like.
Yeah. Just a reminder, that building did not get hit by a plane.
Yeah, that's right.
Just collapsed.
It's just like
that building just fell down on its own.
Pretty like demolition wise, it collapsed on itself.
I don't understand how they can possibly claim like that was the one building amongst all those other buildings that got hit by debris perfectly for it to fall down. Just everything
perfectly.
Else here is fine.
Look at all the buildings in between there.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's such a like a ridiculous thing for them to expect people to believe.
So there's
what was supposedly in this tower segment?
There's a jingle to be made out of this, right? Building 7 just won't go away. like this is the thing, right? you can argue all you want about all the other bullshit. Building 7 seems like it was a controlled demolition.
Yeah,
That seemed like a controlled demolition. If you were to see that from any other aspect, you'd be like, yeah, they're just demoing a building.
And there was only fires. Like, can we look this up? How, like, Treno, you get to Googling, mate. Like, how many floors? I want to know how many floors
Pretty sure that
was
video
there
that
fires
chick
on?
just said 10 floors.
10 floors. 10
Pretty
floors.
sure in
on
that
the
video.
10th floor, I think it was.
There was 3
One of those-
fires on the 10th floor. Is that what you said?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
because
just-
the sprinklers didn't work, it just fucking collapsed.
Yeah.
Dude, there's been so
you
many
fucking
buildings.
engineers need to step up your game, mate. Hey, that's fucking piss poor effort.
So I have a really good quote. I have a really good quote about this. So here we go. Oh, a lot of build up.
Do you want the fire floors or do you want to say your shit?
No, I want the fire floors.
Righto. So the fire was seen on floors 6 to 10, 13 to 14, 19 to 22, and 29 to 30. In particular, fires on floors 7, 9, and 11 continued to burn out of control throughout the afternoon. At approximately 2 p.m., a firefighter noticed a bulge in the southwest corner of 7 World Trade Center building and ordered evacuation. But yeah,
well,
so
the fuck they didn't evacuate
Okay,
it? So the whole building was on
5,
fire.
8, like 10 floors. Yeah, 10 floors.
Oh, it was 10 floors. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Tower 7 was the 3rd steel frame building to collapse under its own weight. The first 2 were the World Trade Centers. In the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, like ever before. Yeah.
Tower 7 was the 3rd steel frame building to collapse under its own weight in the world. The first 2 were the World Trade Centers.
Oh, but is there something similar or connected to them about like with the construction company who's built them? So was there like a bunch of dodgy contractors working on both of those, like lots of builders who are like, oh, we haven't got quite enough cement to like get this beam like fully stable. So like if you could just like render so it looks real good, hey, we'll fix you up for an extra 10%.
Render spiracy.
Another render spiracy. Well.
Here we go. These paper mache.
It was me, mate. It was me. I made it look all pretty for everybody, but actually it was falling apart.
Yeah, like
in the first place.
Who were the contractors that worked on those buildings? Were they like
dodgy
contractors, like were they, like mob bosses who were cutting corners and just like, hey, we got some cheap steel off cousin Joey. It's gonna put it in that new building over there.
Sweet.
That was a big thing in Italy, remember?
That was a
All the
fantastic
bridges and
New
shit
Yorkie
was
accent.
collapsing in Italy because of that whole mafia connection.
Really?
Can we like what is the ultimate like Italian catchphrase? Like Italian mafia
Hey, get
catchphrase?
out of here.
Well, no, but like for
forget about it.
Specifically for
it's a me, a Mario.
Specifically for
I made him an
9/11.
offer he couldn't refuse.
Hey, it's a me, a Mario. And some towers collapse, all right?
Well, it's funny. In Italy, they had all those bridges collapse and killing people, and it was because the mafia had won the contracts to build them.
Oh,
and they just did them so fucking cheap and dodged like real shit concrete and everything.
Yeah, so this is like the most.
Wild, man.
So there was like a 30-story in Florida recently that caught on fire for like. And was like the entire building was burning for like 48 hours or some shit. And it still didn't collapse.
No, partial.
Yeah, partial. Didn't look anything like that.
No.
It didn't look
but it wasn't
anything
built
like
by
that.
Italian mobsters.
No, but that was what they were saying.
It was taken care of by the Irish mob. They know how to build things.
That's what it was. It was the Irish mob. No, so that building,
That's interesting.
there was like rot. Apparently, there was like some kind of like steel rot inside. It was like the steel was like rusting inside, and like that's why it collapsed. But even when it collapsed, it was like didn't look anything even
Like
close
those,
to that.
But like, was the size difference much? Like, what was the size difference like? And general size, like
footprint.
Like, what about the
Footprint
construction?
sort of
Was
thing,
the
as well
other
as, like,
new
height.
building built after 2001? Like, would it have had?
Yeah, that's true. Type big as well. Yeah.
Like, because I imagine the building code would have changed substantially after 9/11.
Guys,
Only the
you can't
handrails,
just
mate.
render the cement. You just can't render the metal poles anymore.
Yeah, after
okay?
9/11,
we
they're
actually
like,
got to use cement.
Don't make this. Can everybody agree to make the buildings terrorist proof now?
Maybe not terrorist proof, but terrorist resistant. It's
Right,
like
they
water resistant.
They finally realised that the White brothers aren't in action anymore, and they better up their game.
Yeah, that's right. Oh fuck.
All right, well, let's wrap this up, boys. What's everyone's take on 9/11? Let's start with you, CK.
I think that the much larger conspiracy and something that I actually still want to talk about is like the aftermath, because like to me this is like the most interesting part is what happened afterwards and why we now have to go through the kind of airport controls that we have to go through. That's changed forever, and that's something that we don't even remember it changing, because probably most of us can't remember before that. Like this is a real thing that has changed in our lifetimes is these kinds of laws that just are openly and publicly accepted as to what we are okay with on the basis of oh well, we're going to prevent terrorism. Well, the reality is that before this we hadn't had to deal with it, and
We've had planes hijacked before. It wasn't the first time, but it wasn't the amount of casualties, I presume. Because you had, like, what was it? Fidel? No, what was the Castro? No, fucking. It was a Castro, the one who blew up the Cuban airline?
Pablo Escobar.
Pablo, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
It's not the first time fucking planes been hijacked.
Yeah, but that was a lot different, dude. That was like a drug dealer blowing up a plane to get rid of an informant. Like, that was.
But he blew up a passenger airline. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing is not the first time a plane's been hijacked.
Yeah, and also not the first time a terrorist act had been done. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's just the.
But they
The
do
most
definitely
publicized
have
one. Like
yeah,
the most
they've definitely
well-known.
like taken full advantage of the situation to.
Well, I think it was probably
make
one of
some
the
changes
first.
that probably they want. You know,
It's probably one of the first ones that was like fully televised live while it was happening. You know, like before. Like normally with a terrorist attack, you'd get the footage after it had kind of finished and been done. Whereas this, like the cameras were already there, like filming. Like, yeah, and that's why I think it's stuck in our minds for so long, man, is that we actually actively watched it happen. It wasn't something we heard about later down the track or like read in a book sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
actually, interestingly, I watched a clip of a news presenter who like made reference to that Tower 7 collapse before it had even collapsed. And so he's like, oh, hey, the whatever the building was called, Solmga or
yeah, it's quite
something.
famous. Yeah.
And he's like, oh, cuts to the reporter on the scene, like he's like, oh, so like, you know, this building just collapsed. Like, what's happening now? And she like starts talking, and the building is like
still there
behind her. Yeah, behind her.
Yeah,
it's real
I
crazy.
mean, that could be delays in news feeds. Like,
No, it was
how
like
advanced
20
was
minutes before it
20
collapsed.
minutes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
So-
it's pretty hard to explain.
No, not really. If you've been
If it
given a
was like
script for the day.
2 fucking minutes, like I could see there being a delay in video feed, like it was the early 2000s. When was the last time
20
you watched
minutes.
a DVD from the early 2000s on a TV?
Yeah, but the guy at the, even if it was 2 minutes, like the guy at the news station was the one making reference to the building being collapsed.
Not that she
Prior.
was live.
Yeah, and she was on the scene.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
with the building still behind her, you know.
Yeah.
So my thing that I
crazy.
kind of still wanted to talk about was like the aftermath, basically, and like because we've kind of talked about the before, during, but we haven't really talked about the after, and maybe this is for a different episode. But like, I'd really like to get into the entire again debacle of what happens in the aftermath of this, because holy fuck, man. Like, if you think that the World Trade Center's blowing up was fucking crazy, like what we've just done for the last 20 years, literally 20 years of being at war, sending people to die and kill.
Yeah, just to pull out the other day.
Yeah, just to be like,
Oh yeah, I reckon it's the
God,
whole
it was so
itself
sick.
and the
Have we
Afghan
won?
war.
Have we
Because
won
you can
it
look
all
at
yet?
it beforehand. You can go all the way back to Russia invading Afghanistan. Like Afghanistan has been a country that has been at war.
It's like one of the most invaded
No,
countries.
but hold on.
Start of
Calan,
civilization.
I think hold on. I think you're saying it a little bit wrong there, right? Which is that like it's not that Afghanistan was at war. It's that people just keep being at war with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Afghanistan isn't going out and
Afghanistan
starting
keeps getting
wars.
invaded, man.
Yeah.
It's
that's
the one nation that has always
It's
been
like, yeah,
invaded.
it's
like,
the most
from
invaded
the start
nation.
of civilization,
Yeah.
and it's always
What is the
the
most
one nation that has like
what is the most like
failed
invaded
to be
country?
conquered. You know,
Yeah.
it's
So
always
is it
been a
just
nation
oil?
that failed to be conquered.
So my if we're trying to do a wrap up, I feel like as much as you could claim that there was some kind of conspiracies going on that day, which I don't think that there wasn't, you know, like I genuinely think that the idea that they didn't have jets in the air and that were able to take care of those planes in the 3 hours or so that they were aware of it. Like, I think that that's maybe could just have been a oversight in where those
sounds
planes
like a
were at the time.
Fairly massive oversight.
But it was a pretty big fucking oversight, you know? But at the same time, I can accept all of that. The thing that I actually think is the larger conspiracy is what happens next.
Yeah, fair shot.
Mic
What about
drop.
you, Nick? What do you got, big fella?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I reckon like, there's just too many things for it not to be like something happening there. You know what I mean? I don't know if the government, like, I definitely don't think it was an energy weapon and holograms. You know what I mean? I think that the event still happened, and like, you know, obviously, yeah, we joked around a bit about it tonight, but you know, it's still pretty tragic, obviously, the whole thing. But yeah, I think that, you know, I would like to believe it wasn't sort of had some intervention from the government in terms of like enabling it. But, you know, when you look at how many things are just don't add up, you know, there's like way too many for it not to be, you know. So yeah.
100%. What about you, Biggie? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat, man. Like, it doesn't add up. Like, it could be a lot of people taking advantage of what the standard narrative, or like what the general consensus is, that those 19 Saudi Arabian guys crashed the planes into those buildings and killed a whole heap of people, which is like quite possibly exactly what happened. But there's also a good possibility a lot of people took advantage of that situation to further their own means. So they may have not have been involved in the planning of it, but as soon as they were aware what was going on, they'd kind of went, actually, if we let this happen, we can engage in a war, or we can further this cause, and we can put these other
profit from it.
you know. So like, they weren't
sort of let it
necessarily
happen.
they weren't, involved in the planning, but they were complicit in what happened, in the sense that as soon as they were aware of what was about to happen, they kind of did nothing to prevent it, because they knew what they could use it to take, how they could use it to take advantage of it. And my big question is, how far did that go? Like, how many different groups were involved in that kind of like well, we won't tell them that you know about it if you don't tell them that we knew about it, because we both came and got, kind of got off better here.
Everybody kind of got what they wanted.
Yeah.
Like you scared everybody, and we got to put these new rules in power, and we can be done here. We can wash our hands,
Yeah.
I think I'm in the same boat as the other fellows. Like, I want to believe that there is some type of sweet conspiracy out there that the Americans decided that the best thing that they could do was ram some planes into some buildings that they own, because that'll let them create a one world government, But the only people that really benefited from it was the military. The military groups, people that make weapons, people that made missiles and like things, materials for war. Like, apparently there was something like $2.4 trillion made off of the wars in Iraq, just from military spending. Like, if anyone's responsible or culpable for the attacks or the aftermath of the attacks, it's got to be the military. Like,
yeah.
As for
I think we're all on the same page. Yeah, there's so much that just doesn't add up. But like we'll probably never know at the end of the day. But it's always good to fucking discuss this thing. It's always it's a very tragic thing that what actually went down and stuff. And the way that it was all approached. I think there's just a lot more questions than answers. And just going forward, I hope we do get a lot of answers to a lot of it, but I kind of get the gut feeling we never will actually know.
I think, man, we're 20 years on and we're still having this discussion about who even did it.
They just did a huge information dump on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think that
it's very vague.
To be honest, I think that there are actually a lot of answers. In terms of the basic questions of like who were the people that could benefit, and then what did they do?
Yeah, but they're all wild assumptions, mate. That's the thing. Like, you're making assumptions. So you can say what is and what isn't. It could be just coincidence that these things line up, but you just never know.
Yeah, but also
there's just so much. There's just too much weird stuff about the whole thing that just doesn't add up.
I think that the aftermath of 9/11 is a topic for another podcast.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of. That's what I was kind of talking about.
We've wrapped things up, so I think you should take us out with a song.
Yeah. All right, sweet. Well, do we want to do a wrap then?
Hell yeah!
Can we wrap it? We're gonna get some.
I want some type of American-inspired tune, Biggie. By the way,
yeah.
We got to pay homage to the 9/11 survivors. Good thing CK knows the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh fuck! I thought he was singing the Canadian national anthem. I was going to stand up for it, but.
Slippery Canadian.
Oh, say can you see
What are you
Oh,
doing,
mate,
Biggie?
you are having so many Americans hating on you right now, CK.
I'm impressed that you know the words, CK. I'm impressed. Like I've heard it 50 million times.
We've
because of
watched a lot of
basketball,
Hollywood
but
movies.
I'm
I
impressed
was
that you
gonna
know it.
keep going, except that Calan was like, "Yeah, Americans hate you."
I mean, they may hate you,
Wow.
but
Also,
I
after
love
this podcast, I'm
CK.
pretty sure they will.
And I love that you learned all that from watching the Mighty Ducks. I fucking mad shit.
let's go, Biggie.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, play us out.
Take us away, big fella.
This is the end of the show. All the places we didn't go. The things that we never used to know, now we know. So what do you know? The planes crashed and we ain't quite sure who done it, but we know it ain't no fun. It's over now and done, and this one has just begun. And you know now it's time to finish this discussion tonight on what them terrorists did. Well, you know it wasn't right, but that's another time and another place. So, portly gentlemen, we rest our case. We rest our case. We rest our case.
The greatest podcast in the world. The greatest podcast in the world. Look at the boy bands.
Friday nights.
Rules that were available. Rules that were available.
Friday nights.
Rules.
Look at the boy bands.
Rules that were available.
Portly Gentlemen's Podcast.